We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hello, welcome in. Ciao, but not the goodbye way and the hello way. It's the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network here inside the Colt Brennan Memorial Studio. I'm Cam Stewart, bringing you the Cam Show along with Scotty on the turntables, really getting us funky on this Monday. It's Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Tell a vet you know, thank them for their service. They don't get thanked enough. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I have thanked some veterans today. That essentially makes me a hero as well. That's what I've heard. Real heroes, of course, are the New England Patriots. They go into Chicago when the world thinks they're not going to beat Chicago. And by that, I mean they were dogs. They were like 6.5-point dogs, I want to say. And they went in and just pummel the Bears. 19-3 is the final. And it didn't feel that close because of how completely inept the Bears are. Holy mother. They need to fire everybody today. It is not getting better. They have the toughest schedule in football from this point on to the end of the season. They tried the sticking around with Eberflus thing. I think there was not a person in that stadium walking out in Chicago Bears colors yesterday afternoon that wasn't thinking it's time to fire Matt Eberflus. It is time. Because again, we talked about this the other day. You know, obviously Jaden Daniels has been the best rookie. And Washington, although losing yesterday, is still probably a playoff team, which is pretty incredible from where they were 2 years ago and last year. And won, I think, 4 games last year, the same as the Patriots. And looking at them, you know, it's easy to think that, they were the most ready to win team right now with the rookie quarterback. But going into the season, that was not the case. The Bears were the team that was win now. You know, you look at the weapons that Caleb Williams has, and it's Cole Kmet at tight end. It's DJ Moore. It's Rome Odunze, the top 10 pick at receiver. Keenan Allen, a little bit older, but still a good receiver, right? Mercedes Lewis, can you believe that? 19th year in the league. He's still playing. Not much of a difference maker. But all that to say, they had a good defense, and in some metrics, they're still top 10 in the defense. They have not stopped the run at all this year. That's why the Patriots exploited it pretty good. But good defense, good weapons, and the number 1 overall pick at quarterback, the most pro-ready guy of those first 3 taken. And the number 3 pick in the draft was supposed to be the most raw, like going to take a lot of time, project. Midway through season number 1, number 3 just outplayed number 1. Drake May was better than Caleb Williams yesterday. And probably been better than Caleb Williams since he's taken the field. Caleb had a nice 2-3 week span. Hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in his last 3 games. The Bears have not scored a touchdown on their last 22 drives. Spent 10 quarters since they've scored a touchdown. And Caleb looked terrible on Sunday, to be totally honest with you. You know, his offensive line also stinks. It's probably not quite as bad as the Patriots. But when you look at that game film yesterday, I mean, just missing open guys left, right, and center. They were 1 for 14 on 3rd down. 1 for 14. And again, it's not like the Patriots played a good game defensively, but there were guys out there. And you could see the DJ Moores and the Cole Kmets just being like, what do we have to do to get the ball here? And Daryl Johnston mentioned it during the broadcast. He was saying, everyone's excited when the number 1 pick comes in, and you got a receiving core like this. And, they believe in the guy, and they're trying to build him up during, the preseason in the first couple games. He's getting his feet wet, and they probably still think this is their guy. But when you're a veteran receiver and you're running the routes correctly and you're not getting the football after 6, 7, 8 weeks here, that's frustrating. And it's not that you don't believe in the kid, but it gets really frustrating to play with Caleb Williams when he can't hit open receivers. I'll tell you, Sunday, he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean from the boat. I mean, like every time he was dropping back there, no confidence. They had one drive where they designed a couple of plays to get the ball out of his hands quickly. They got a couple first downs in a row. They ended up kicking their only field goal of the day on that drive. Only points of the game for the Bears came on that drive. And then after that, they abandoned it. And they kind of left him out there to dry a little bit. But the Patriots' coverage, from what we've seen this year, is not good enough to have 9 coverage sacks. They had 9 sacks. Man, did they get to 10? No, 9. That shouldn't have taken me that long. 9 sacks on the game. And there's a couple that you can point to right away that were Caleb Williams' fault. He just did not look like this tankathon quarterback, if you catch my drift. He did not look like a quarterback you would have tanked your whole season for in this game. Midway through season number 1, and quite honestly, he's regressing. Because a couple weeks ago, it looked like he had found his groove. And since the start of that Washington game, which of course they ended up losing, they have not scored a touchdown. They scored 15 in that game, 9 against Arizona, who was leading the NFC West, and 3 against the Patriots. You're talking about a team that is scratching and clawing for a playoff spot, and they've got the toughest schedule in the league remaining, and they couldn't even beat the 2-win Patriots at home. They couldn't score a touchdown against the 2-win Patriots at home. That is a disaster over there. An absolute disaster. And is it a better situation than the Patriots? Maybe just a little bit, because if you hit on the next head coach, then it could be, you could turn this thing around pretty quickly. In fact, much like the Bears did in Mitch Trubisky's second year. After they had benched him year 1, they won the division and made the playoffs year 2. But to me, right now, it looks just as bad because they're ready to fire their coach. I'm shocked as we are doing this at 11:08 Central Time live that Matt Eberflus has not been fired yet. His team had less penalties, and they won the turnover battle, and they lost by 16 points to the least talented team in the National Football League at home. Boy, what a mess. What a mess. Drake May vastly outplayed Caleb Williams, and it was a pretty pedestrian Drake May day. 15 of 25, 184, a touchdown and a pick. You know, nothing Hall of Fame worthy there. In fact, that pick he threw was terrible. It's the worst one he's thrown all season. And he should have thrown a second one. He probably also deserved a second touchdown pass with just how well he was playing throughout that game. But 15 of 25, 184, a touchdown and a pick. And he looked miles better than the number 1 pick. Caleb goes 16 of 30 for 120. That's it. 16 of 30 for 120. Jacoby Brissett can give you that in his sleep. And this is the number 1 pick in the draft. This is the franchise guy. Number 2 and number 3 are already better than him, and they've already beaten him head to head. Boy, this could get ugly here. And I'm, again, not saying Caleb Williams' career is over by any stretch, right? This happens. But it's a lot easier to handle in Jacksonville than it is in Chicago. And you heard the Boo Birds yesterday. They were all over the place around Soldier Field at the end of the first half, end of the second half. And what the Patriots were pulling off before the half looked like something that should be happening against them. Okay, because they got the ball at their own 40-yard line with 50 seconds left and a timeout, and they executed it perfectly. 22-yard strike to the Chicago 25 to Kayshon Boutte with 10 seconds left using the middle of the field, no timeouts. They get it there. They get up to the line, they spike it with 1 second left, and Chicago's got a guy running back. He's offside because he's not getting back when he knows they have no timeouts left. That should be happening to the Patriots, not for the Patriots. So that ends up being an extra 5 yards from the 20-yard line, 37-yard field goal, even in that wind, money. 3 extra points right there. And we didn't really know it at the time, but 13-3 was insurmountable for this Bears offense. They were not scoring 10 more points. At that point, they were 0 of 8 on third down. They finished 1 for 14 and sacked 9 times. There was no way that was happening. And I wanted to put the clip in here, but it might get flagged because it's NFL, because it's just highlights. But I'm telling you, the one thing I've been looking at with Drake May throughout this process here, and anytime you bring in like a young, raw, new quarterback to things, one of the big things I'm looking for is the game too fast for him, 1, and 2, is he hitting his open guys? And there were times where it looked sped up for Caleb Williams, but mostly he was not hitting open guys. It's not like these guys weren't getting open or he just couldn't thread needles in there. These guys were open. He wasn't hitting them. It was kind of fascinating to watch because I was watching Caleb a couple weeks ago when he had that 2 or 3 game stretch where he had 7 touchdowns to 1 pick. And he looks like, all right, this kid's figuring it out. This is the future kind of unfolding in front of us right now. I think Jacksonville was one of those games where he had a good, nice game over in London. And since then, it's been a disaster, And they show him on the sidelines. He's just like defeated, sitting back, doesn't know what's going on, almost putting his arms up without putting his arms up. And that's what's happening with Caleb Williams. Drake May, on the other hand, solid game, not his best one, but a huge part of his team winning that game because he perfectly executes that field goal at the end of the first half. He also had a touchdown drive right before that, where he even found a way to give Jalen Polk a touchdown. Tyreek Stevenson, the safety for the Bears. Remember that name, Scotty? Tyreek Stevenson? I think his most embarrassing play of the year was letting Jalen Polk score a touchdown. Not whatever that was in Washington at the end of the game. I think that's got to be the one that he's like, you've got to be kidding. How did I let that happen? Let Jalen Polk score a touchdown when I was in coverage. And so Drake May has this game. And instead of, talking about firing the coach and blasting this quarterback, and I'm sure questions in Chicago whether he's going to be a bust, all the positives are pointing towards Drake May. In fact, there's a comp that is now flying around for Drake May that is going to get Patriots fans jacked.
Devon Godchaux turned some heads, opened some eyes when he compared the Patriots rookie, number 3 overall pick, to Josh Allen. He called Drake May Josh Allen 2.0. Well, after having conversations with folks within the Bears organization this week, I can tell you Chicago feels the same way about the Patriots rookie. Josh Allen is the comp. He's Josh Allen. That's what I've been told by people within the Bears organization. It's the way he scrambles. It's the toughness he shows when he scrambles. It's his ability to create off schedule, and it's the arm strength. You combine all of those things, and it's easy for opponents to see. Never mind what the Patriots think. It's easy for opponents to see that they have something special in Drake May.
The Josh Allen comp that the Bears are talking about, and you and I have talked about, Brian doesn't love it as much. We talked before the show. Why is that, to you, Brian, a comp that doesn't really strike to the heart of it?
Well, there are a lot of similarities, but the one thing I would say, I've been on the field with Josh Allen's thick. This guy has, you look at his lower half, he's thick, and there's a bit of explosiveness you see to his game. He's hurdling guys, he's running over linebackers. Drake may get there, but right now he isn't as powerful, and when Josh Allen throws the ball, it's with a flick of the wrist. The interception in overtime last week, Josh Allen may get it there to the end zone for the touchdown. Drake may have the ability to do that, but it's going to take time to get there. I'm not saying he won't be that, and it's easy to see why there's a comp.
I like that comp. I don't know about y'all. I like that comp. It would be really nice if Josh Allen had won a Super Bowl by now and, been to an AFC Championship game, which that's an issue. But overall, I like that comparison And I didn't think that way at first, kind of for what Brian Hoyer was saying there in terms of just the sheer size. You know, Allen is massive, but you look at Drake May, he's not a small guy. He's 6'4", 225. You know, it's not like he doesn't feel as big as Josh Allen, but he's only an inch shorter and 12 pounds lighter and can get outside the pocket. By the way, that's been a huge threat for him in this season. And I had to this morning look back at Josh Allen's rookie year, 2018. I remember it well. The Bills were just kind of getting everything else together. The next year, they lost the division by 1 game to the Patriots in that goal line stand. I just remember those Allen games that year where I was like, my God, he's nowhere close to these guys, you know? The big arm, and much like Drake May, by the way, coming into the draft, you knew he was the project. Like, you knew it was almost the same thing out of college, right? Guy's very athletic, wins games on his athleticism, good ball skills, good arm, but he's got to get that accuracy down. And you look at the numbers from that year where he started 12 games, he threw 10 touchdowns to 12 picks, which makes sense looking back on it. His success rate, which is a kind of a Pro Football Reference metric, was 37.1%, and his completion percentage was 53%. It took him to year 3 to get a completion percentage over 60%. Drake May is at 65% right now with the worst receiving core in the entire NFL. And yeah, he can get out of the pocket. He's tough to bring down. He's taking hits. I don't know why. There was a play yesterday where he was well past the first down marker. It did him no good to take a hit, and he took a hit. So maybe work on that a little bit. Josh Allen has worked on that and is much, much better with his sliding. But there is absolutely a comp to be had there. Absolutely. And it felt like the Josh Allen thing, his team was slightly better than the Patriots in 2018, this year's Patriots in 2018, but it looked like he was more kind of catastrophic in a way. Like he was giving games away more than Drake May is with this pretty bad team. But roughly the same yards per attempt, roughly the same yards per completion, 10 and 12. So like these guys, the comp statistically is there. But what I really like to hear about it is not just the Patriots are saying it, but the Bears are saying it too. There's the opponents are saying, yeah, this guy's a lot like Josh Allen. Man, tough to bring down, quicker than a hiccup, and he can fit it into some tight windows and can really deliver that deep ball. I mean, he had another deep ball yesterday that goes incomplete, but it's right there. It is right there for his guys. Scotty, what do you think about that? What do you think about that comparison? I know you've only seen a little bit of Drake May, but that comp to Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in football.
I think, and I am guilty of this as recently as last week on your show, I think perhaps we're a little too quick to comp rookies to top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, right? I mean,
maybe.
Especially when guys like Josh Allen, there has never been another Josh Allen. You can't comp Josh Allen to anyone before him.
Yeah, probably pretty tough.
Loosely, I mean, who do you say?
Yeah, I'd have
Roethlisberger. He's way more athletic, you know.
No, you're right.
You're right. So I just, you know, but the fact that that conversation is happening and we're not saying that's insane is a really good sign for Drake May.
Yeah, we're not laughing it off.
Right.
Now I'm a homer, but like I'm not laughing that off.
Right.
I don't think it's that crazy.
Well, and as you pointed out, and I've shared this a couple times now on this show, fit and coaching matter so much, right? So Allen's numbers his rookie year are not great, and then they get the coaching right, you know, with Daboll and McDermott, and
that's a good point because I don't know that the Patriots. I don't think that's automatic here.
Correct. Right. So
I really don't.
I'm really interested to see how the Patriots handle coordinators or even head coach going forward long term. And how that affects Drake May and how much he can elevate, you know, regardless if he's coaching.
That's why I think the Bills might be cursed, by the way. I know Jets fans are thinking that about themselves, but the Bills really handled this thing right for the last 5 or 6 years. Like,
I mean, one of the most well-run organizations in the league. Yeah.
Like, truly, there's nothing I can point to and be like, well, yeah, if they didn't do that or they didn't have this guy there, There's nothing. Whereas the Jets, I mean, you could do it every year.
Right.
Every freaking year you could do that. And the Bills, I think, have like really handled it well from like 2019 on, and they still have not gotten to a conference championship game.
Well, they keep running
That's
into
incredible.
Patrick. They keep
I
running
know,
into
I
Patrick
know, and that
Mahomes.
stinks. But
Yeah.
like you got to figure one of these years, maybe Mahomes will get hurt or something. But now I don't know if the Bills are really a Super Bowl team right now. That's the thing. I think they probably lost enough talent that they're not quite there. But
You
they're
also
sitting
can't
there-
write them off, though.
They're sitting at 8-2. They're going to win this division. They're going to walk away with this division. There's nobody else that's above 500 and what was supposed to be the best division in football. The Bills are going to walk away with it. Who do they play? It's Kansas City next week. Yeah, that's the game of the week next week. That's going to be unbelievable. And they've hurt Kansas City a few times in the regular season, but not where it counts. And I wonder if the Bills are going to be like, I don't know, name your, Celtics of the 2010s, or I don't know, one of the teams that couldn't get over Jordan's Bulls. You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be one of those teams that just cannot get past the all-time
The
great
dynasty.
year after year? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember that those 2010s when LeBron went back to the Eastern Conference, teams were like starting their rebuilds based off this. There was no way they were getting past them. Toronto was that way until the year LeBron left, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
the year he left, and they win the title. They go all in and win the title. So I wonder if that's what the Bills are going to fall to history, I guess. But the thing with Josh Allen is he is a top 5 quarterback in this league, I think.
I mean, easily. I don't
So,
know
In
how
that
to debate
sense, the way the NFL is now, they should be competitive for years and years and years. And maybe this is just the beginning of Josh Allen elevating the rest of his roster. You know what I mean?
I'll put it this way, Cam. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, I
Yeah.
would much rather be the Bills with Josh Allen any day of the week, 360.
You know what's
days a year.
funny?
But here's the other thing I was going to say. I would rather be the Patriots right now because Dallas.
At least
I'm just being honest.
and you're on that path. at
Well,
least,
just because the Dallas is overpaying a mediocre
Yeah.
quarterback that's now hurt again, and there is no optimism moving.
the Cowboys are locked in limbo,
Yeah,
and the Patriots are at least rebuilding.
right. And you like what you've seen so far from the project
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When your concern is, do they have the right coach in place? It's not fun, but it's a better situation than, do they have the right coach? Do they have the right GM? Do they have the right owner? Do they have the right guys under contract? Like, that's a lot, and you can't change the owner.
Unfortunately.
And look, I have not been happy with what the owner has done in New England recently, to be quite fair. But when you have the quarterback, that is the biggest hurdle.
Yep.
The biggest hurdle. If you have the quarterback, you are on the right path. No doubt. Of that, there is no doubt.
And what's been proven time and time, and every show says this and everywhere in America, the formula right now is you hit on a rookie
Mhm.
and you pay everybody else, or you get a Mahomes and Allen, you pay them, and they're good enough to
And they
keep
elevate
you,
everyone
They're
else.
good enough to keep you up there. Cowboys are neither.
Yep, they have a quarterback that does not necessarily make his team better. And they're paying him more money than any quarterback in the history of football. Oof. Boy, the Cowboys. I mean, we talk about the Bears being a disaster. My God. My God. I had some enlightening point on Josh Allen, but I don't remember what it was. It's about the Bills. I don't know. Like, are the Bills a Super Bowl contender? I don't know how this got bogged down into a Bills thing as we talked about the Josh Allen comp. But, speaking of, the last thing, because we'll go to the Celtics next. The Bills and the Cowboys, I thought, were in roughly the same boat coming into the season. Both with talented rosters, have won a bunch of games the last few years, but both ones where I said their actual real window is probably closed. You know, they can screw around and make it to a conference championship game, which neither of them have done, by the way. So that's even a stretch there. But both their windows are probably closed, and they're in limbo as to looking what they can do and what you've learned. Injury notwithstanding, because this is what we learned before the injury, the Bills are like, okay, we can soft rebuild this thing with our quarterback. The Cowboys, I don't think can. I don't think they can.
And I'd argue, having watched
And one's really good and one really sucks.
well,
right now,
well, and here's
to be
where
fair.
your preseason evaluation was a little off.
Okay.
I think the Bills are still very talented.
Mhm.
I can name
Yeah, but
the
they lost a
talented,
lot of guys.
kind of like you've talked about the Patriots' talent right now. I can name the talented Cowboys on one hand. It's Michael
Pretty easy,
Parsons,
yeah.
Trayvon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and second-year guard Tyler Smith. And really,
I mean, Dak's got some talent, but
okay, but again, for
but
what you're
yeah, I
paying,
mean,
you're-
we're splitting hairs.
you know, the Cowboys roster, and we're talking about rosters around quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is entirely underperforming what Jerry Jones would have you believe they have talent-wise.
If you take
Whereas
CD
the
out of the
Bills-
receiver room, it's just as good as the Patriots. Like, I really don't think it's
Well,
that
but
far off.
my
man.
point being, the Bills have
Yeah.
moved on from some guys, but the guys they've brought in have ended up their talent.
Being good enough.
Their talent evaluation is great. Whereas I would say, I would not say that for Dallas.
Yeah. Well, the real problem is they haven't gotten the GM part right
Wonder why.
in terms of free agency and who to re-sign and what the market value is and what these trades are. They haven't gotten any of that part right because they've actually drafted pretty well if you look at the last 10 years or so.
Yes.
And that's why I was like thinking about the Jonathan Mingo trade.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
They gave out a 4th round pick, and you go down the list. I mean, they do well in the 4th round. Dak was a 4th round pick. You know what I mean? Like those aren't just ones you throw around like candy. And here they are giving it up for a guy who has the lowest yards per attempt for his targets in the entire league.
By a lot.
Which leads me to think of this Kendrick Bourne situation. Linking it back to the Patriots a little bit. Kendrick Bourne gets told the day before the game, hey, we're probably not going to play you tomorrow because we want to prioritize our young receivers. And in a vacuum, okay, you're going to rebuild. That kind of makes some sense. But when you really look at it, Kendrick Bourne is signed through next year. So it's not like he's on an expiring deal. You've got him for next year. And so you want to build some chemistry with your quarterback with the young, cheap receivers, sure. But he is going to be playing with this guy next year. So the next, 20 some odd games of his career, he's going to be playing with Kendrick Bourne under contract. And you just had the trade deadline and you kept him here. Why then? Because I know there could have been some market for Kendrick Bourne by evidenced by Jonathan Mingo getting traded for a 4th round pick.
Facts. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Kendrick Bourne's a better receiver and has proven to be over his career.
Easily.
So it's not like there was no market for him. It's not like you could have gotten nothing for him. You kept him on this team for a reason, but what is that reason? Because you're sitting him in this game. I don't understand that. And I know this isn't the easiest thing to do because it's a coach in his first year and he's not the greatest coach of all time and it's a different situation. But Belichick would have never done something like that. Never. It's the accountability thing. If you're better than the guy behind you, you're playing. It doesn't matter your status. It doesn't matter what the team is necessarily going for. The guy who is the best, the most dependable is going to play. And I just never could have seen a scenario where Belichick would have said, no, we got to get some young guys more touches. But Jalen Polk isn't as good a receiver as Kendrick Bourne. Javon Baker's not as good a receiver as Kendrick Bourne. KJ Osborne is not as good a receiver as Kendrick Bourne. He would have never done that, ever. And what did it work out to be? Jalen Polk got a touchdown. That was great. I mean, he plays plenty of snaps anyway. He plays the same amount of snaps as Kendrick Bourne. So I don't know if he's, getting into the front seat because Kendrick Bourne's there. KJ Osborne, technically no targets. Would have had a touchdown if he didn't go out of bounds and make it illegal touching. Javon Baker, I don't even know if he took a snap at receiver. He was back there for some kickoffs. Tyquan Thornton, young receiver, inactive. So I don't know what it did for you at all, but you got the win. And so did the Celtics, but it was not without some controversy, some drama during a Sunday afternoon of football. The Celtics had to insert themselves into the drama, or more importantly, Giannis Antetokounmpo had to do that. That's coming up next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe
more relaxed. What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the Bradford?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
Patriots get the win yesterday, and shortly thereafter, so do the Celtics. It was not a great start. I think they were down 11 at halftime. At one point, they were down 17. But the Celtics come back to beat the hapless Bucks. I mean, you want to talk about an organization in flux with the Chicago Bears. How about the Milwaukee Bucks? Man, they were 30-13 with Griffin last year. They can him, and they're like below 500 with Doc since then. Poor Doc, man. I don't want to keep pouring on Doc, piling on him. You know what I mean? I like Doc. He won a championship with the Celtics. And the more I watch, I'm like, the more he's coaching himself out of the Hall of Fame. Just about every coach who coaches an NBA championship team gets in the Hall of Fame. And if Doc had retired like before Philly, I think he gets there. I think time remembers him well. And, his Clippers teams were always good. You know what I mean? Like they didn't win the championship. I don't even think they made a conference finals. But to be that good year in, year out in the NBA gets you into the Basketball Hall of Fame. They don't have these great rigid standards, okay? They don't. And so he would have been there. And now, whatever this is, 3 years later, 4 years later, from whenever he took over from Philly, I think people are going to remember the memes. I think they're going to remember how many times he blew a series lead, 3-1, 3-2. And they're going to remember this Bucks thing if it continues to go this way. Not even if the shit hits the fan. Like, the stench is being thrown around the room. The shit is hitting the fan. They're 2-8. They're terrible. And they've got 2 Hall of Famers. And I know we've talked about it before, but that Drew Holiday trade is going to go down as maybe the worst in Bucks history if things continue to go the way they are. If the Bucks continue to go south and the Celtics continue ascending, they've already won a title. But I always said about that, this is not a hindsight's 2020 kind of case. When the Bucks traded for Dame Lillard and sent Drew to Portland, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that he was going to end up with an Eastern Conference contender. The 2 teams, or 3 teams, I should say, 3 teams were looking for a point guard. They were all in the Eastern Conference. the three teams that would be looking for a borderline Hall of Fame point guard to round out their team for a championship contender, to be a championship contender, were all in the Eastern Conference. It was Miami, it was Philadelphia, and it was the Boston Celtics. So you knew playing that game, Milwaukee, that if you sent Drew Holiday to a team like Portland that was going to try to flip him right away, that he was going to end up back in your conference with one of the teams you were competing against. You felt, I guess, that was a calculated risk to bring in a Hall of Famer in Dame Lillard. The Celtics get Drew Holiday, they immediately win the title, and they completely separate themselves from you. And to me, it's hilarious. And Drew made some big-time plays at the end of that game, like winning plays, coming up with steals, stealing possessions. And I'm like, nobody in that arena can be surprised. They saw this for years. They saw them win a championship off this guy. Like, he complimented Giannis perfectly, and you let him go to bring in another guy who airballed 4 threes yesterday and helped drop your overall defensive rating by 19 spots in 1 year. No shade. Dame Lillard's a Hall of Famer. He's a great player. But that acquisition has no doubt hurt your team. No doubt. And it's bad enough that it's tough to get these guys on the court at the same time because they get injured. They play the game hard and they get injured. And Dame's old and Giannis is getting there. And the way he plays, you're going to get injured. But you've got them on the floor for this whole first 10 games of the season. And they're 2-8. And they've blown double-digit leads against the Celtics both times. And really where the turning point came in this game was when Giannis had a little playful exchange with Jaylen Brown.
This is Giannis after the offensive foul call. Whoop.
Yep.
Psych.
You all right, man? Yeah, okay, psych. But it's indicative of Giannis still being able to have a good time after. I would have got him a second time. Yep, psych again. And look at Jaylen Brown. He ain't smiling.
Like, the game changes after that. The Bucks were feeling good about themselves, up double digits in the first half. And then that happens, and the Celtics don't look back. The Celtics, do they take it too seriously? Maybe. Because I chose to use that clip to show that Giannis did go for the second handshake, okay? Like, it was just, I don't know, it's kind of funny to see that in an NBA game. But Jaylen Brown did not think it was funny. And the Celtics also did not think it was funny. And they made it their mission after that game to completely turn it around, come back from that 17-point deficit, and win the game rather comfortably, actually, by like 6 points at the end of it. This team is not to be fucked with, okay? I think they have made that abundantly clear. And if you didn't know that already, after the win, Jaylen Brown made it abundantly clear after the game.
With the offensive foul, and then he like fake shook your hand and pulled it back. Are you laughing at that? Do you think it's funny, or does that kind of piss you off?
Giannis is a child. You know, I'm just focused on helping my team get a win, and that's what we did tonight.
Giannis is a child. He was not messing around. This team is not to be fucked with, and they proved that once again with this comeback. Like, you want to say it's cheesy, it's corny, it was just a joke, get over it. I actually understand that because it is pretty jokey. But what this showed from a Celtics fan standpoint is they're going to take all of this personal. And that's a good thing. They took some shit personally last year and they won the NBA title. And we talked about it in this offseason. A lot of other teams are thinking that the Celtics are manufacturing disrespect with the whole Steve Kerr thing and the Olympics, and I'll get over it. And whether they are or they aren't, if they're going to use it as fuel, I'm here for it. If they're not going to get bogged down in it, which I don't think they did in this game, they went out and took it to those two Hall of Famers and beat them down the stretch, mainly thanks to Derek White. Thank you for everything that you do, Derek White. 2 things to do today. Thank a veteran, and if you see Derek White, thank him too. Maybe not as, profusely, but thank them both. It's just people were worried about the Bucks coming into this season. I think they're better than what they are at 2-8, but I am not worried about the Bucks. I'm not. They cannot defend enough to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series. In fact, they won't even get to the Celtics unless it's the second round. If you think that's going to be a conference finals matchup, you're in banana land, okay? No chance. They are not getting past the Knicks, who have had their own struggles right now. And I doubt they could even get past Miami, who are having their struggles, but they always do at some point, and they're cockroaches. They just keep living. They might struggle with Philadelphia if Embiid's healthy, but obviously that's a huge if. I don't think they're as good as those teams, and of course they're not as good as Cleveland or Indiana or Boston. They're not close. They're better than 2-8 probably, but they're not close to that. And you want to talk about a championship window closing. It's closing pretty tight right there. Celtics get the win and prove that they will not be fucked with this year. I'm here for it, man. Because you know what? There also is some beef there with Giannis. There's just, and I don't know that it's any one thing, but they're kind of just sick of Giannis. You know, they had the 2022 series where Giannis was great, and the Celtics felt he got a much kinder whistle than their team did. And it was tough to argue watching that series, every minute of it. It's tough to argue, but Giannis is a superstar, man. You know, he's still probably one of the 5 or 6 best players in the game. He's got a couple MVPs. He's won an NBA title. He kind of deserves that. Earned it. But now when he's coming down on Jason Tatum and Tatum's rolling his ankle on what is a clear landing spot foul, which I don't agree should be a flagrant, but is a flagrant every time, and Giannis doesn't get that call and the Celtics have to waste a timeout to get Jason Tatum off the court, they probably should be pissed. And in fact, Tatum said after the game, he said, the shit's annoying. It's getting old that we're not getting these calls, and Giannis is still. So I get that. There's some beef there. And it goes back to probably when he dunked on Al Horford and was chirping at him like the most respected guy in the league, Al Horford. And Horford kind of took note of it, came down a few possessions later, dunked all over Giannis's head, and got a flagrant because it was such a flagrant dunk. Got a flagrant foul because of it. So it's all still there. It's all still there. But Giannis is a child. Jaylen Brown made his mind clear there. I mean, he made his stance clear on what he thinks of Giannis. Oh, this would be a fun rivalry if the Bucks could keep up. If the Bucks were actually a contender in the Eastern Conference, this rivalry would be a ton of fun. We thought it was going to be that way for years after that 22 series, but the Bucks have exited stage right in terms of NBA title contention pretty swiftly thereafter. You know who will never be out of title contention is Pete Souza. He joins the Cam Show. Next.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me, but I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know, we always family no matter where I'm at.
mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Like, they used to always be good, Pete. Like, Boise was there every year. They were a top 10 team. Pete Souza's here. You can bring him up now if you want. I'll let Pete in.
Hey.
Let that Pete in.
Cameron?
But like the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years before this, they weren't much of anything. But I'm happy that they're good again.
Yeah.
Boise, they're fun.
Well, I mean, 7, 8. I don't know. That's really sticking it to them. I'd say like 5. I think they were.
And I think the thing is they just don't have the identity anymore. They don't have the Chris Peterson, Brian Harsin, air it out offense. The Kellen Moore, they just don't have that anymore, which was really why they were so fun.
Yeah.
That's what made those BCS busting teams really fun.
No, we have Kellen Moore. The Eagles do.
Yeah. And how about a revenge game for Kellen Moore yesterday that you were at?
Yeah, I was there.
How did that feel?
It was.
First off, how was your treatment in the building?
I mean, honestly, it was it felt like close to 50-50 fans.
Yeah.
It was almost like a Super Bowl when something would happen. I mean, there were certainly more Cowboys fans and obviously the Cowboys game day operations and music and all that stuff. So, but there were a lot of Eagles fans, man. It was kind of wild. And I'm not one of those guys who's looking to talk a lot of shit, but
Me neither. Yeah.
people were talking a lot. I mean, it was very friendly. It was very friendly. After the game, I was there with Christy and I was like, stay close, because there was a group of Eagles fans who were just set up outside their tailgate. There was a lot of them, and they were drinking. They were talking a lot of smack. And I was like, this is how fights start. Outside in the parking lot, the sun is down. I didn't see anything happen, but yeah, it was, I did not feel alone. I did not feel alone. It was almost weird.
Did you get shit talked at?
Not one person. I got support from Eagles fans, and that was it. Not one.
That's a huge difference of being here in Texas and going to see your teams play.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Well, I think honestly, it's the Cowboys suck too.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
It's definitely part of it.
I can say I'm going to talk about this on my show, and I get a chance to talk to Mosley, but I was in the line of that sun. I mean, it was blinding. It's straight up blinding. And the fans forget about, honestly, that's one thing nobody's talked about. Yo, dude, what about the paying customers that can't see the game that they came to see? And it's, oh, by the way, something you can handle with a snap of the finger. Draw the curtains. It's all good.
Still get some ambient light in there, but not blinding them.
Yeah, totally.
But Jerry's not. Jera is not going to do that. He basically throws his coach under the bus after the game because he says, "We know where the sun's going to be when we flip the coin." Yes, Jerry.
I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning, and I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and I was.
He's the closest we have to Steinbrenner.
Yeah, well, but he doesn't win
by a comfortable margin. Yeah, that's the difference. Steinbrenner just kept having life after life after life because they were winning. Really after the mid 90s again, because there was a lean stretch in there. I did start watching that Peacock thing.
Oh my gosh.
On the 90 Yankees. I'm excited.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I've seen a half hour of it. So
yeah, it's really good. The Mel Hall stuff is
the
best part.
But Steinbrenner built winners. And he could flash that at you.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry.
It was as if his early 90s, though, have been prolonged for 25 years, which is what Jerry's in, 30 years.
Yeah.
Not good.
I think the will and all the things that made him so successful are the things that are hurting him now. I also think the Cowboys, I know he owns the team, but it's sort of like a public trust, And so it's a shame he's not more cognizant of that and appointing a general manager or someone else that maybe is more skilled to do that job.
Dude, there is nothing worse. I don't want to really get in the feels for Cowboys fans, but there's nothing worse for the American sports fan than when your owner sucks.
Oh, it's it. It's a death
And
knell.
I was thinking about this when the Celtics went up for sale a few months ago. I have really been very, very blessed with my teams in my lifetime. The Red Sox ownership, I've got plenty of problems with right now, and I'm getting there with Patriots ownership. If they ruin this kid's rookie contract because they decide to not interview a coach and they're just spending their whole time blaming the old coach, that really pisses me off. But for the most part, they've had great ownership, and no one's wanted to move the team. No one's wanted to cheap out completely until kind of the Red Sox now. No one's had a huge ego that's getting in their way. It's the ultimate blessing to have actual good owners.
It is the biggest deal.
And ours, 3 of them are local guys. So that's huge. But there's no way out as a Cowboys fan.
No, I was listening to 105.3 driving back from Dallas this morning. Yeah, there's something special about, by the way. So we get in the car after the game, because when you're at the game, you don't see or you don't hear all the analysis and stuff. So it is a lot of fun to get in the car after the game and put on the post game when you're in traffic. So I did.
Oh yeah, that play did end up becoming big.
I went old school yesterday. I put on the post game, driving home, and then in and out of arguing with my girlfriend about like which way I should go.
Yeah, maybe you can't.
And then what did you say?
I was wondering if you could hear the damn parade.
Well,
you guys keep it down.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Cam,
Thank you to the vets.
It's a veteran.
Keep it down. Trying to do work here. 21st floor. We're not that big time. The city is not that big time.
Yeah, it is, man. The veterans are. I mean, they're rocking.
I'm happy for the veterans.
Yeah,
happy for the vets.
Come on, Cam.
Thank one. Thank
a vet and thank Jason Tatum.
Derek White. I'm not
Derek White, but thank a vet more profusely.
I thought Tatum was killing them yesterday. Killing them. I was so pissed with his shot selection.
You were rage tweeting about that yesterday.
I was. I didn't even bring it up in the Celtics segment. He ends up with like 32, and so it's like, okay, Tatum was the leading scorer, and it's like, but he was like 7 of 21, man. I don't know. Go ahead. You were going old school.
So anyway, so I listened to the post game.
You gotta keep it on track for the thumbnail.
I kept it on. I listened to the post game, but then this morning I was listening, same station driving home, and all the callers to that Sean and RJ show, the one where Jerry told him that he was going to find different guys to ask questions. Everyone was like, everyone, sell the team, Jerry, sell the team. Like, they're helpless, dude. Cowboys fans are desperate.
It's not new.
No, it's not new. But look, we're always as sports fans. And that's why they say fan. It's fanatical. Like, that's what it's all about. We are prisoners of the moment. Last year, I'll say it again, like, that team was set up. Everything was aligned for them to go to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yep.
And they completely got undressed in their home divisional playoff game, where they would have had home field advantage throughout. That's not Jerry Jones. So there is some stuff like there's blame to go around here. He's put teams together that have certainly had everything you need to win the big game, and they just have not been able to have it all come together. Now, the issue with that is that you don't want to be that organization where, okay, the stars aligned last year, now the windows slam closed and we're screwed again. But that's what a team with bad ownership will come across, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look what's going on with the Jets. That's not Aaron Rodgers. That's not Robert Saleh. That's not Joe Douglas. That's Woody Johnson.
That's what I was saying, comparing them to the Bills.
Yeah.
Real quick, to recap what I was talking about in segment 1 a little bit, was I think the Bills have a shout from their fans of like being cursed, because I think they've done everything right the last 5 years with the way they built around the quarterback. They've gotten a good head coach, good offensive coordinator. They've made good trades, good deals. They've drafted well, and they haven't made it to the conference championship.
Yeah.
But like the Jets, at every year you can point to something that they're doing wrong. Oh, why is this guy in this spot? Why did you pay for this? You can do it all day and twice on Sunday, maybe 3 or 4 times on Sunday. The Cowboys are somewhere in there because they've drafted well.
Yeah, they have.
But they have not managed anything else well. They have not managed the cap well. They have not managed their personalities well. They have not managed their coaching situation well.
Well, and where the Jerry Jones thing, I think, really gets crazy is like
made bad trades.
Well, you can really look at it. It's kind of simple. Look at Zeke Elliott coming back, right? Like, okay, now that is a guy who's having, what does he like to drink? Like, I think Maker's Mark, whatever he drinks, right? Like, Johnny Walker Blue.
Whatever happened to lean, huh?
He likes his Johnny Walker.
Jamarcus Russell just drinking lean. Purple drank, whatever it was. Was it purple drank?
It was lean, dude. Yeah, the purple drank. So, I mean, the guy, his career was lean.
Yeah.
So that's a guy drinking a lot of Johnny Walker Blue, like talking on the phone with Dak, talking with Zeke Elliott, like, we're going to make, you know what, like, you're coming back. You're going to be our short, because Dak really wanted Zeke back. Like, so it's like this feel good shit.
Good cowboy.
Yeah, exactly. It's this feel good. And worst case scenario, he'll be a leader in the locker room. Well, look, dude, the guy's not, he's terrible on the field. He's been terrible off the field. And he's a great example of what most 30-year-old running backs are like in the NFL. Derrick Henry's like the unicorn. I'm not even so on Jerry Jones for not making that move, because I could see staying away from that. Like,
on Zeke, though.
Yeah.
Is there something in you that thinks like Zeke got duped somehow? Because he was not the number one back for the Patriots last year. Terrible team. He's 30 years old. He's coming back to Dallas. And it's almost like he expected to be the feature back, because 3-4 weeks into the regular season, there's that report from Clarence Hill that he's I don't remember what the exact words, but confused by his role. And it's like, well, I know Rico Dowdle hasn't done anything in this league, but he is a lot younger. Like, that is the guy they're going with.
And he was on his way to 100 yards yesterday when they put Zeke in.
He was about to, you said?
He was on his way to 100 yards
for the first time in his career?
I don't know if it was first time.
It would have been the first time in his career.
Okay, yeah. And then they put Zeke in. Zeke turned it over. They had like a 14-play drive that ended with they had like 3 red zone turnovers.
Jesus, it was rough, man. And that was a bad red zone offense last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse this year. And Zeke is like not showing up to team meetings. No. They're leaving him at home for a road trip. But like, at that point, you just say, okay, you know what? Thanks. You're done.
How was he last year in New England?
Fine. Yeah. I mean, no, and this is still Belichick. So no reports of missing meetings or having a bad attitude or anything like that.
Okay.
In fact, he was kind of effective for as effective as you could be on a team that bad. There was no talks of that. In fact, I think Belichick praised him at one point. He used to really praise Cam Newton a lot. Belichick loved his leadership.
Welcome your trap. Take over your trap.
Sure, yeah. Are they playing that at the Veterans Day Parade? But I don't know what.
Maybe that's not.
And like that, I know that Patriot Way thing is done. Like it's not there anymore. But that does go to show like the locker room culture of some of these things.
Oh,
even for a shit team last year with the Patriots, there were not the issues that the same guy is having for a team that might win only 4 games all this year.
Cameron, I'm going to tell you something real quick.
Yeah,
here.
Please.
And this speaks to the Patriot Way. Like, and I forget which writer it was, but it was a writer who was on Sirius, a guy who covered the Patriots beat. And he was talking about how when he covered the Patriots, getting a player to say anything, let alone something detrimental, was damn near impossible. Pulling teeth. You could not do it. You couldn't, right? And that was the philosophy from on high. Like, everything is about winning. Like, why would you say anything detrimental? You know what I mean? Like, clearly that's drilled into the players where it's not even a thought. Now, then you have the Cowboys, like the fallout yesterday, like every week it's something different. Like Micah Parsons, just like napalming Mike McCarthy pretty much after the game. You can say, well, the quotes are being taken out of context, whatever. Dude, it was rough what you said about your head coach. And there's something every game.
The fact that he holds court every week, too. The owner,
dude. Like,
as the head coach is doing his presser.
Yeah. I mean, so it's look,
and
man.
like on the ownership thing, like I do have some problems with Bob Kraft now. I don't like the way he's, talked about Belichick after he's left, after what Belichick did for the organization.
Well, that's all ego, right?
Correct. But notice how he never did anything like that when Belichick was here. And he never dragged Belichick through the mud. And, even with this dynasty documentary, he was, calling Belichick a schmuck for the Spygate thing. But he never said any of that when it was happening.
No.
I wouldn't put it past Jera to do that tomorrow. You know what I mean? And like, and to this end, I think if Belichick had told Kraft at any point, hey, shut the hell up. Like, we're not doing that in the media. You got a problem with me, let's talk. But we're not doing that in the media. You won't do that to me. I won't do that to you. I think Kraft would have been like, okay. And that might have happened because he never dragged Belichick through the media or vice versa. So that might have happened. And that doesn't make Kraft weak. You know, that doesn't make him a pussy. That makes him a guy who wants to win, wants to be all in on this rather than just making this Robert Kraft's team.
Yes.
Like, Scotty is like having a breakdown over here. The Cowboys fan, Scotty, he's trying to wrap us up because he doesn't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah, last thing.
But that's a big part of this. Like, there is a huge ego thing, obviously, which is why these guys have been calling into that show for years, saying what they said yesterday.
Last thing. Mosley was with a group of reporters who was initially with Jerry Jones, and then there's a little there's a big gaggle, and then there's like a small gaggle who like sticks with him, and Mosley was one of them, where you basically follow him all the way to the elevator.
Yes. Mosley gets it, though.
Though he does.
Why would I go to McCarthy? What's McCarthy going to give me?
Yeah.
I don't even have to prod here.
Last night, when they threw to McCarthy's press conference on the radio, they said, hey, here's Mike McCarthy with the 3 assembled media members waiting on him.
It's unbelievable. It's like, how does a coach, I know he's your boss, but the ego's on these football coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not go to Jerry at some point and like, hey, how about you hold it another time or something? But I'll bet he doesn't really care that there's nobody there, right?
I know.
But it's just a weird optic. It's a very weird optic, whether he cares or not. It's odd. I don't know. The Cowboys, man. How'd you like to be one of them right now? Scotty's the death look, man. No, it does suck. Like, I don't feel like a ton of pity for Cowboys fans nor fans that are fans of teams like the Cowboys. You know, whether it be the Lakers or the Yankees, or you could say it about the Boston teams if you're not from Boston, absolutely. But that does suck. It does suck that there's no escape from that. There's just not. I mean, you got to wait for the guy to die. But then Steven's going to be the GM. It's not even Steven Jerry, the owner, can survive if you have a hard-ass GM that knows what he's doing, and the same thing with the coach. But Jerry's the GM, and he handpicks these coaches.
Yeah.
There's a reason Jason Garrett stuck around for a decade. You know what I mean? Like, it's silly. That's Pete Souza. Scotty needs a mental break from all of this. This is the Cam Show. We will be back high noon Eastern time tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central time on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you then.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to. The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the 2 most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks to us about the NBA draft.
The team is banged
Are
up
you
a bit.
undressed while we're doing this?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind
Wrong
of big problems.
podcast, Nick. Wrong podcast. When you're a golfer, what is the point of no return? He was the best play-by-play announcer around, in my opinion, and he made me want to continue to watch.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.